G'day, Ben from Melbourne here, and today is part 2 of some of my favourite Australian music from the 2000s. Today's edition is a little bit different. Previous video I talked about a lot of artists who started in the 2000s or late 90s. This one's got a couple of legends, in my opinion, and hopefully yours, of Australian music who either got their start in the 80s or in the early 2000s, but were still releasing great stuff into the early 2000s. And I don't throw the word legend around too lightly, and I think hopefully people watching this and who know who I love know that, in my opinion, Spencer P. Jones is right up there. This is his album Fait Accompli from 2003 on Spooky Records. Of course, Spencer is known as a founding member and guitarist with the Beast of Bourbon, occasional sideman to Paul Kelly, along with tenures in the Johnnies and Hell to Pay. Spencer's released a string of solo records all along the way since the early 90s. Heralded figure internationally in underground music. Sadly never recognised for his huge contribution to shaping an Australian music sound, in my opinion. This is like a tough, gritty album with guitars right out the front, so if you like that kind of thing, you're going to love this record. Spencer's voice is like really full-throated and has a nice amount of growl in there as well. This is kind of a record made up of a number of sessions, so it's got him with 3 of his bands he's played in over the years. One, The Beaks, which is a pretty amazing band featuring Brian Ritchie, of course, from Violent Femmes, and Billy Ficker from Television. And then the more local contingents of The Cow Penalty and Escape Committee. But it is quite a cohesive record all the same, even though it's 3 different bands playing on different songs. This is a ripper record. Just show you the inside. I love stuff. They're spooky. There are other releases. You can probably see some of Spencer's other stuff on there. Lyric sheet. I'll just show you the vinyl. There's the labels. Probably holding it upside down as usual. I can never get that part right, no matter how many videos I do, but I try. Okay, next up, Magic Dirt, our favourites from Geelong. This, of course, as you can read, is the 20th anniversary, unbelievable, of What Are Rock Stars Doing Today. This is kind of like their breakout record with the singles Superglue and Dirty Jeans, which did really well on our national youth radio station Triple J, and this also made them regulars on the Big Day Out tour, which was quite successful. Started off in Sydney, and then Sydney and Melbourne, and along the east coast, Western Australia, and in the end ended up also having shows in New Zealand. Sadly no longer around. But yeah, Magic Dirt and a few other Australian bands were like staples of the Big Day Out, and quite often eclipsed a lot of the international bands. This one is where they like managed to harness, making up words now, harness their huge like guitar mayhem into a more like indie pop thing that appealed to a wider audience, but still kept us old fans happy because they retain that just huge guitar wallop in there. Nice white vinyl on there. I don't know if I already said that this was on East West / Warner Records. Lovely package. Good to see, even though sadly Dean passed away a few years ago, that Magic Dirt have been playing some shows, and really, really good live band back in the day, and of course Adelita's released a couple of absolutely stunning solo records as well. Alright, next one up, we're going to go with Grinderman. Of course, this is Nick Cave, Warren Ellis, Martin P. Casey, and Jim Scalvinus from Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. Apparently these songs came about because Nick Cave started playing some guitar, which obviously that's not his main thing. He played most of the Bad Seed stuff he wrote on piano, and being on guitar in not my words, but quite rudimentary on the guitar, which gave a really raw sound. So they formed a band called Grinderman, which jammed out and came out with a pretty really raw sound, which was great to hear Nick Cave do something like this, because as much as I love Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, they've become a completely different thing from how they started, and it was good to see them really just kick it out without worrying about the intricacies of their normal songwriting. And the second Nick Grinderman album when they toured, that was I never saw The Birthday Party, but that was a wild show, and probably the closest I'll ever get to have seen The Birthday Party. Like, Nick Cave was in another level of performance that night. He was a bit scary, to be honest, which is what I imagine what he would have been like. The great songs, Get It On, No Pussy Blues. The actual song Grinderman is not a crazy full-on one. It's actually really creepy, slow burn style of thing. Both of the Grinderman records are really worth checking out. They, as you can see on the in the middle, they said something along the lines of they had a midlife crisis and grew beards and wanted to rock out. Just plain black label on that one. And why you would just have that, who knows. And then, speaking of Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, of course, from 2004 was Abattoir Blues and The Lyre of Orpheus. Double album, but really kind of like two separate albums. This is the first one, I believe, he did without Blixa Bargeldon, who was replaced by James Johnson of Gallon Drunk. But it really was a showcase for Mick Harvey, really shines on guitar. They utilise like a gospel backup singers to even further intensify the drama of the Nick Cave album. They're quite distinct from each other, both records. The Abattoir Blues one features Jim Scalvinus's drumming, and so obviously that's a more straight ahead rock style, and Thomas Vidler does the main drumming on the second record, Lyre of Orpheus, which is a more sedate, elegant affair, I suppose. Comes with a nice little inner there with some lyrics. Great stuff on Mute Records. And now, of course, we can't do any favourite Australian features without talking about the great man over my shoulder, Roland S. Howard, with his last record, Pop Crimes, from 2009, released on Liberation Records. This one's actually released 10 years after his previous solo record, The Brilliant Teenage Snuff Film, and sadly 2.5 months before his death from liver cancer. But this is, probably his masterpiece in a lot of ways. The first track, I Know a Girl Called Johnny shares the vocals with Janine Standish from Hate Rock, another great Australian band, which Roland produced. To quote something I read, Pop Crimes may be Howard's last will and testament, but as such, it's a physically forceful, deeply emotive, dramatic finish full of memorable songs and unforgettable moments that make it a high watermark in Australian music. And I wholeheartedly agree. The brilliant Roland S. Howard with Pop Crimes. And I'm just going to finish off with a few CDs, things which, as of yet, to my knowledge, have not come out on vinyl, or if they have, I don't have them. So quickly, 2000, The Mighty Foes from Morning Peninsula with their album 1,000-Yard Stare. Great stuff. Indie rock legends from the early 90s, still going, released a number of great records. This was the album they released that no one expected them to release because there was a documentary made about them and everyone assumed they'd broken up at the end, but they didn't. And got the great song Celebrate the Failure, getting stuck into our Prime Minister at the time, John Howard. Other great songs I love, Astronaut Talk and Medium Pacer, legends. The last Be Suburban album, although there was recently one called The Beast release, but they felt like they couldn't go with the name Be Suburbans because sadly both Spencer P. Jones and Brian Hooper had passed away, and it was former members and current members got together and made a record in tribute to them, and sadly since then even Tony Polar, the drummer, has passed away. But this is Be Suburban Little Creatures. It's a great record. Cool picture there of Tex and the boys. Check out Spence in the background, just being cool. This is more a straight ahead rock and roll record. I don't care about nothing anymore. I love that song. And of course, the song with the vocal shared by Spence and Tex called Thanks. Check it out. Fantastic stuff. All right. Next up, The Dirty Three. This record is available on vinyl, but at the moment, the cheapest copy I've seen in Australia is $150, so I'm not going to be getting that anytime soon. This is Whatever You Love You Are by The Dirty Three. Great artwork as usual by Mick Turner. This is kind of a culmination in a way of everything that they do great, but also probably the most studio bound record they've done, with multiple layers and overdubs, especially of the violin by Warren Ellis. Great record. All of their stuff is fantastic and unearthly and beautiful and ferocious and all of those adjectives in one. 33. The underdogs of what I'm showing, the great Gaslight Radio with their last record. Fantastic indie rock kids. Well, not kids, they're probably about my age. With Good Heavens, Mean Times. This is just a fantastic indie rock record. Comes with a nice bookmark. Love that stuff. This is probably new drummer, more propulsive sound, short, succinct songs, not as probably slavish to other American bands as in on their earlier stuff. More really found their sound on this. Unfortunately, this was the last thing they released, but what a way to go out. And one more legend, the great Ed Cooper, with his album Smile Pacific, does a killer version of Fever. I remember this tour, Ed was playing solo with a really overdriven, fuzzed out guitar and had one of those foot stomping things under for for his bass drum. Really, really cool stuff. And here we go. And Ed's still putting out great records and still playing great live shows. So that's my wrap up, I guess, of the 2000s, of a lot of the stuff I was enjoying, listening to those records and seeing those gigs at the time. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye bye.